On January 27, 2016, Governor Gina Raimondo signed into law the Good Samaritan Act. It was met with praise and applause from the recovery community at Anchor Recovery in Pawtucket. This new law allows someone to intervene during a drug overdose and administer Narcan without the threat of prosecution.
Signing this Good Samaritan bill is not enough, but it's a big step forward. And getting more recovery coaches, this is what we're going to do together. Because we are committed in our shared belief that addiction is a disease and recovery is possible. Yep. And if we come together, we're going to make that recovery possible for the people of Rhode Island who are our friends. Just like the mayor said, these are our friends. These are our brothers and sisters, literally. These are our sons and daughters. Yep. They don't want to be in this situation, and it's on us to make sure that we get them the care they need so they can get out of it. And in this day and age, when politicians don't always agree and sometimes we let things stand in the way, you ought to feel good that the legislature made it happen. And I know there are many reps and senators here, so thank you to every single one of you for getting this done. And you ought to feel very good about yourselves.
This word disease is something that is not understood by most people in the state. It's a disease. If this were some communicable germ that killed 250 people a year, I could suggest to you that we would have people from the Center for Disease Control here investigating the cause and effect. The cause and effect is simple, and that is giving people the tools to overcome addiction. There are a lot of different ways that that's accomplished. This is one of those ways, and I was happy to be part of that.
Most of us here know that it wouldn't be a success if it wasn't for Rhoda Perry back in 2012 when she put the original bill in because she was afraid that people who were calling 911 were going to get arrested. And I'm going to read to you a quote that she made back then, and it's still true today. And Senator Perry said, "Ultimately, saving a life is much more important than an arrest or a lawsuit. This bill is about putting lives first." And that's what this legislation does. It allows people to make that phone call to save a life. And if it saves one life, and we've had a number of people stand up this afternoon who were saved by the Narcan, then it's well worth it. The enforcement of the drug laws, of course, they're very important. However, public safety is not just enforcing laws, it's also saving lives, and that's what this does.
This new law will not expire. Drug addiction does not discriminate. Addicts are male and female, rich and poor, educated and not.
I think back in the day, this only happened to those people. But I bet that most Rhode Islanders know someone or know of someone that is dealing with either addiction or an overdose. Do you find that's true from people that you meet, especially about this bill?
Oh, yes. I mean, I've had some unnerving experiences with my two sons. One just graduated from North Kingstown High School last year. The other graduated 3 years ago. And they would come home and tell me, not specifics, but heroin being in North Kingstown High School. And quite frankly, most people don't think that would be possible. They might blame it on an inner city community like this. It's everywhere. It's a cheap way for kids to substitute for prescription drugs that are opiates. The crackdown on opiates, which is appropriate, and prescription of opiates has been a good idea by the medical board, but heroin has come in as a cheap alternative, and it's in my hometown and it's in your hometown.
You looked at the statistics. It's amazing how many people have died because of opioids in the state. Did you feel like the problem was getting a little out of hand and maybe this was one step to curb it?
Certainly one step to curb it. I know in Warwick every so often in the last year the Beacon's been doing articles on the increasing number of people who are ending up at Kent County Hospital that they're treating for situations where they're ODing. And definitely this is going to take us to that point where people are going to hopefully not be in that situation where nothing gets done to protect them. And the number goes down from, I think, 265 to hopefully in the single digits. But if it's less than that, it's great.
In Rhode Island last year, more than 200 people died from opioid overdoses. People in the recovery community will tell you that Narcan does save lives. And if you speak to someone who was brought back, they may just tell you that that was the turning point in their life.
So altogether, with heroin and cocaine, I've had 29 overdoses. I've had 25 grand mal seizures that I remember, and I've had 4 heroin overdoses. So you never know. You don't know when their time comes for recovery. And that's why it's so important that we keep surrounding people and keep giving them the chance and the opportunity, A, by saving their life.
Roxanne Newman is a recovering addict. She is a wife, a stepmom, and soon to be a new mom, a homeowner, a student, and an employee. Roxanne was a drug addict who was given a chance to be all of these things because Narcan brought her back to life after an overdose. It gave her a chance at a better life that for years was destroyed by drugs.
Well, I started dabbling in ecstasy when I was 17. I met this guy, which tends to be the story of my life. I meet this guy. And then he was dealing ecstasy, and so I started to do it with him and deal it with him. And I got in a major car accident when I was 17, and I almost killed my passenger because I was using drugs and had to leave a party, and I was upset, and I was driving fast. So, and I still couldn't see then that the drugs were the problem.
A brief time in prison did nothing to curb her drug habit, and when Roxanne got out, things escalated.
So I started snorting cocaine, and I started snorting cocaine on a regular basis right off the rip because I remember like my first line of cocaine, and I remember it perfectly. And I remember doing it, and all of the pain and all of the anger and all of the sadness and the guilt just went away. It was just gone. And I remember my thought immediately after was, this is awesome. I just need to stay like this all the time. I danced in the clubs, you know, and I did what a young, you know, girl in that time, I guess, would do, maybe. I mean, what I chose to do anyways. I don't know if every young girl would choose to do that, but when you're young and you've got this money being thrown at you and, you know, this lifestyle, it's fun, everybody's drinking, everybody's doing drugs, you're the center of attention, all these people, you know, want to be around you. It's just, you know, you just go with it, I guess. I wasn't really thinking of the consequences. I just did it.
It's attractive.
It's very attractive. It's appealing to a lot of people. And it's hard not to get sucked into it when you're there, you know, and you've got to be like, you know, I remember my first time on stage, like, everybody was rooting me on, go up there, and I made $160 in 6 minutes. I mean, what do you...
And you're thinking, what's this $160 going to buy me?
This is what I'd make in a week at the pizza place I was working at, so I'm just going to stay here, you know, and then you get more money, more in depth you get into the lifestyle, you know, and you lose pieces of your soul. They don't tell you that while you're doing it, and you're getting high, you're dancing, you know, it's just a whole nother life, and you're so swept up in it.
Where is your family? Was anyone trying to reach you?
I'm sure they were. I mean, I kind of am good at hiding, so I hid, and you know, you really weren't going to reach me at this point. My family knows me. I'm pretty strong-willed, and if I don't want to listen, I'm not going to listen.
So Roxanne's life continued to spiral out of control.
Well, I started out with like 1, or, you know, half, and then at the end of my OxyContin phase, I was doing 5 80 milligrams. So I was doing about 400 milligrams of OxyContin a day. I needed 2 of them to get out of bed. I couldn't get out of bed, I would be sick. It's a massive habit, yes.
And it's your body's telling you to take these.
Yes, I need them. I can't function without them. I can't.
How well functioning were you, though? Did you work?
I worked. I worked.
Socialize?
Yeah, I worked from my drugs. I mean, it came down. At this point, I'm not paying bills. At this point, I get high, I go to work, I get money, I get high. I go to work, I get money, I get high. I go to work, I get money, I get high. And I get high to go to work to get the money so I can get high. Like, it's just like, it's so blurry. And then you have these people who are around you, and they are your friends, and, you know, they're getting high. Everybody's getting high. Nobody here is rational, you know. And I started dabbling back in the cocaine, so not only do I have a massive $300 to $500 a day OxyContin habit, I now have a cocaine habit, which is easily anywhere like $250 a night, no problem. So I have a very expensive drug habit, and I have to maintain this. So, you know, there's no paying anything but drugs.
Things only got worse for Roxanne. She found herself homeless and in no condition to keep working. Her expensive drug habit had to change. Her OxyContins were replaced by a cheaper opioid, heroin.
You know, I started shooting the heroin, and then I started shooting the cocaine, and it was just, you know, it was just horrendous. It was horrible. And I ended up out on the streets in the summer of 2007 on the streets of Providence, because people don't want to maintain your drug habit for you. And I couldn't dance at this point. I mean, I had track marks, and I was skinny, and it was really gross. So I went out to prostitution, which would be the next level from stripping. So it just seemed like the best thing to do, I guess. It's what I knew, you know. Looking back now, I can see that certain levels of everything, like you give up a little piece of yourself, so it's easier to give up another little piece of yourself. You know, most people are not, you know, leaving school and becoming a prostitute. It just doesn't happen that way.
So at this point in your life, you're very high in all aspects. How do you get to the low point?
It's a progression, and it's sometimes it's slow, but.
So in this time, though, Roxanne, you've lost almost everything. You're on the streets.
I have nothing, yes.
Was there a piece of you that was screaming, now's the time to get help?
No, not this time. For me, I had come to terms with that I was probably going to die. So
it was just a matter of time.
It was just a matter of time. I didn't have the strength to kill myself, which would have been, you know, get enough heroin and you'd been gone. But I had resolved that either I was going to OD or somebody out on the street was going to hurt me. And I got hurt a lot of times. A lot of really bad things happened to me out there.
Roxanne was in and out of prison for different offenses. She would get clean, and as soon as she got out, she would relapse.
So when I did the 8 months, that's when I started to try and get help. I went to the they called it the drug wing in the prison, where they helped you. And I started to take classes and I really wanted to try. And I was released into a rehab. And, you know, I went to rehab, and I really wanted to try. And then I think I was only in 17 days. And the problem was I had a guy that was using, which tends to be the story of a lot of females. Mm-hmm. And males with women or whatever, you know, you prefer. And so he was using. So instead of saying goodbye, I thought, well, I might as well just go out with them.
Because it's easier.
Yeah, it's just, you know, you feel so small. I mean, whoever will show you some sort of affection, you're going to take it because you feel so small. You know, I'm a prostitute, I'm a junkie, I'm a crackhead, but this person loves me. I don't want them to leave me, you know. Well, I'm 23, so this is my life. I'm just kind of in and out. I actually did not get off drugs till I was 27 years old. So altogether, with heroin and cocaine, I've had 29 overdoses. So you never know. You know, you look at somebody and you think, they just keep overdosing. They're not going to get it. You don't know when their time comes for recovery. And that's why it's so important that we keep surrounding people and keep giving them the chance and the opportunity, A, by saving their life. My first heroin overdose, I did the heroin. I can remember walking to the door and seeing somebody saying, sit down with me, and sitting down, and that's it. And then the next thing I remember was waking up and somebody, like a paramedic's in my face. And then I go back out, and then I wake up in the hospital.
So someone called for help for you?
Yeah, somebody called for help. They left the house, but they called for help. So I'm very lucky. That doesn't always happen. I had left Rhode Island and went to be with my dad, and I had gotten like a month without drugs. But I had court cases down here, and I had to come back. This is when I started to kind of like clear up. I was 27, and I said, my dad was like, well, you're trying to protect me. He's like, you're crazy to go back down there. You should give it some more time. And I said, no, Dad, I can't. I got to face the courts. I can't keep running anymore. So I came down here. Well, right before my court date, I decided I wanted to do just one more bag. So it tends to be a lot of the story for a lot of people. Only it really is, that's it. There's no more, nothing after they die, But so I went, I bought a bag, and I did it. And I can't really remember a lot. I don't remember feeling it. I remember gasping for air, and I needed air. And then I had 3 people with me. One left, one ran. The other 2 called the 911 and said there wasn't enough time to find me where I was at. They'd meet them halfway. And I was blue. And so I don't remember anything other than waking up in the ambulance and the paramedics saying that they almost didn't get me back, that I was gone. So they had gave me, I believe, a couple of the shots of Narcan. And the paramedic was very adamant on telling me I was very lucky and that they almost didn't get me back. They almost couldn't bring me back.
And that was it?
That was my last one. That was it.
And who was able to reach you then, mentally, physically, bring you to help?
Well, because I had been to prison and because I had tried rehab, I kind of knew what to do. And, I got on my knees and I prayed because I believe that's one of the most powerful tools that we have in recovery is prayer, to whatever you believe in. So I prayed to God, and I got into 12-step groups. I was court-ordered to treatment, so I went to treatment. And I can't really tell you, I wish I could tell you why that was the last time, like what clicked. I could just tell you, I'm going to cry, I'm just really tired. It's cold outside. This is a nice mild winter. I've been outside in winters that were 18 degrees, 12 degrees. I've been out in 99-degree weather with no drink, no water, nothing. I've gone without food, all for drugs.
Roxanne says she still continues with the 12-step program. She sees a therapist weekly and surrounds herself with positive and helpful people, including a sponsor whom she trusts completely.
I cry on a weekly basis because I just can't believe it. I mean, I just can't. It just blows my mind.
Can't believe you're alive.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm alive. I can't believe. I mean, when I got off drugs, I had nothing, and now I'm building a home in Cumberland. I have a new husband. I'm pregnant right now. In this pregnancy, I'm like halfway through, so it looks like everything's good. I go to college. I'm a straight-A student. I work for Anchor ED, the emergency department program. I rub shoulders with politicians. They know who I am.